NBC's Peter Alexander is joining us from the White House, and NBC News Chief International Correspondent Keir Simmons is with us from inside Russia. Peter, what more do we know, and what is the White House hoping for from this phone call?
Anna, I'll tell you that I just spoke to White House officials here to try to find out if that call was underway. The Kremlin saying it would be happening in this window of time. The White House not detailing whether the president and President Putin are already speaking. We do know from President Trump that he has indicated that his focus here, the topics would include power plants and dividing up Ukrainian assets. Notably, this is the first known conversation between the two leaders since Ukraine agreed to support a U.S.-backed month-long ceasefire as long as Russia would do the same. The president has made clear, as you noted earlier, his desire for there to be a truce, peace as soon as possible. He said it may happen, maybe it won't. He said he thinks there is a very good chance that it takes place here leading into this call. It comes a week after Secretary of State Marco Rubio, the National Security Advisor Michael Waltz sat down in Saudi Arabia with Ukrainian leaders where they agreed to this 30-day ceasefire so long as Russia would sign on to it as well. As it relates specifically to the topic of power plants here, the president didn't elaborate on what he meant by that, but Steve Witkoff, one of his envoys who's been heavily engaged in this process, did mention a nuclear reactor in some of his comments earlier in the recent days. It appeared to be a reference to the Zaporizhzhia nuclear power plant in southern Ukraine that, of course, Russia seized early in the war and still controls. That is Europe's largest power plant, and obviously that could be a significant change if Russia is ultimately to take control of it. Anna?
Okay, Peter, thank you. Please come back as you get more information on this phone call. Keir, we heard what the White House is hoping for. What does Russia want, and are they really open to a ceasefire?
Well, they are, but it depends on what kind of ceasefire. I mean, look, Russia is playing hardball here. Just as an example, while you've got President Trump saying that they are already reaching agreements with Moscow, the Kremlin spokesman saying, well, this phone call that might be happening now or around about now, as Peter outlined there, this phone call is just one of many phone calls. I mean, that's why President Zelensky is accusing the Kremlin of slow walking this and trying to gain leverage and kind of salami slice a deal, get everything that it wants. That nuclear power plant that Peter was talking about there, just one example of how complex this is. When you just think about it, who owns a nuclear power plant is a huge deal. How safely will it be operated? Who gets the power from it? All of these issues are incredibly complex, deeply, deeply controversial, and that really goes to the point that what Ukraine agreed to was a 30-day ceasefire. Now the Trump administration appears to be talking one-on-one with Russia about many, many other things.
And Keir, you were reporting yesterday on how Russia was forcing Ukraine out of the Kursk region. That's territory Ukraine had seized inside Russia. At this point, has Russia completely taken back that territory?
Pretty much, it looks like, and therefore for Ukraine, it's lost an important piece of leverage. We actually travelled this morning to a village not far from here. A risk of drones there, but we got there and saw burnt out buildings. We saw an American Humvee that had been burnt out. The furthest point the Ukrainian forces got. It's the first time that a US news organization had got to an area that had been controlled and fought over by the Ukrainians, now taken back by the Russians. There are many, many villages and towns across Kursk here that look like that. It's angered many local people, the fact that there's so much damage has been done. And frankly, for Ukraine, pretty much all of that leverage has been lost. It's another example of how Ukraine honestly finds itself in a weakened position. These are very, very difficult times for Ukraine.
All right, Keir Simmons, thank you so much for your reporting there, again, inside Russia. And joining us now is former U.S. Ambassador to Ukraine, Bill Taylor. Good to see you, Ambassador. Given what you know about how Putin operates, what is the best way for President Trump to handle this conversation? How does he navigate any tactics Putin might deploy?
Well, Anna, President Trump needs to demonstrate that he has the cards, as he says, that demonstrate that the United States, with Europeans, has leverage over Russia and therefore leverage over Mr. Putin. They've got economic sanctions that they can strengthen. They've got assets that they can seize. They've got military assistance that they can continue to provide or increase provision to Ukraine. So they've got assets, they've got the leverage, and President Trump just needs to demonstrate that he is willing to put pressure on both sides, but put pressure on President Putin to come to the table.
But has freezing assets, has the sanctions that have already been put on Russia done anything? Have they been effective?
They have certainly been effective. They have reduced the output of the Russian economy. They have not reduced the output of the Russian military economy, which is what they had hoped to do. But yes, the Russian economy is fragile, Anna, is very fragile, due in large part to the sanctions. They've not been able to get the kind of equipment and components that they would otherwise get. So yes, there's leverage with those sanctions, in particular if they are increased and made more effective. On the assets, yes, those assets are not available to the Russians and should not be. That should not even be part of the bargain. But that is a demonstration that they got leverage over Mr. Putin.
Russia does have a laundry list of things they're demanding in exchange for a ceasefire, including guarantees that Ukraine would not use the pause in fighting to resupply its forces, no NATO membership for Ukraine, end international sanctions against Russia. Ukraine and its allies would recognize territory annexed by Russia. Ukraine shrinks the size of its military. There's also a question of who would monitor this deal across the front line. That is quite a lot of demands for a country that started this unprovoked war. At the end of the day, do you think Putin gets any of that?
Not much of that, Anna. You're exactly right. I mean, we all know who started this war and who has killed hundreds of thousands of people. We know where the origin of this war is. And so for him to make those demands just demonstrates that he is not, at least these demands indicate that they're not serious about these things. They know they're not going to be able to get those. President Zelensky has agreed with the Americans that ceasefire for 30 days makes good sense. And now the question is President Putin. All those limits that President Putin has talked about on the Ukrainian military, on their future in NATO, their future in the European Union, those are non-starters for the Ukrainians. And remember, Anna, that the Ukrainians are going to have to agree to whatever is in the final agreement.
Okay, well, we'll see what comes out of this phone call. Again, expected to happen between 9 and 11 a.m. Eastern time, according to the Kremlin, but still no word yet on if it's begun. We will stay on top of it. Former Ambassador Bill Taylor, thank you so much for offering your expertise and insights.